please, indie developers, do not do this, okay? You might win over a few people, maybe, but it just feels like bribery, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Somebody needs to talk about it, and it's been bothering me for a long time. This was kind of like, maybe not the last straw, but something that really, I was like, oh God, I hope this is not a thing now, sort of a situation. It's about indie developers contacting content creators. And I just want this to be a message to indie developers that are doing that. I love indie developers, and I want all of you guys to make games that are awesome. And like, indie developers are one of the main reasons why I love the gaming industry today. The things that indie devs can make that big publishers can't make is awesome. You know, it's huge. I love it. And that's that. And I love indie developers, and everyone should definitely keep doing what they're doing. And everyone should definitely reach out to content creators. But there's a right and a wrong way to contact content creators when you want them to play your game. And for many, many years now, I've gotten, many emails per week from indie devs, just like with quick emails saying like, hey, play my game, blah, 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 blah. I have gathered some things from the past few months. I went through my email and I got some like examples that I'm going to show you guys. This happened this morning. I logged in and I saw somebody joined my Patreon, and I was like, cool, that's great. And so I went and I logged in because they had also sent me a message. So I went and I read the message, and I was getting ready to respond saying like, hey, thanks for the support and whatever. But this is what it was. Okay. And this is what I mean by like, oh God, I hope this isn't a thing now. This person joined my Patreon, pledged $3 just so that they could ask me to play their game. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, or if anyone has like the opposite opinion than I do on this. This was like immediately bothered me, and I had to think about it for a while and wonder why, because obviously like YouTubers do sponsors and stuff where the sponsors reach out and they're like, hey, here's some money if you want to promote our product. And it's like a professional kind of back and forth and everything like that. So at first I was like, wait, why does this bother me? It's like, I don't know. And I need some input on this from you guys, like just in case I am in the wrong here. But to me, this immediately seems like, hey, I'm guilting you into this, or I'm bribing you basically to play my game. And this has never happened to me before. I don't know if this is like a thing that indie developers do now. I really hope not. It looks really bad, doesn't it? Is it just me? Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got. Play my game because I'm your patron. And so I also want to say, I know it's really difficult for you, indie dev, to get content creators to see your games. I understand that is why this was done. They were probably like, oh, it's a good idea if we actually just like spend a few bucks and pledge to their Patreon, maybe they will actually read the message and see that we want them to play the game. But I think what indie developers don't realize is most of the time that's not why we're not playing the game. The main reason that we're not playing your game is probably because either you didn't format your email in a way that made us want to read it or respond, I will talk about that in a little bit. Or maybe your game is not that good. Like, no offense, but there's a lot of indie games that aren't good. And my final reason, the main reason why I think that content creators are not responding to game devs' emails, even if it's a good game, might be a perfectly good game, but a lot of the time there is no research done, and I can tell that this developer has not looked at my channel, and they have no idea what kind of videos I make and what kind of games I cover. And I think that they just they send this to every channel that has eyeballs on it, and they hope that one of them is going to hook onto their hook and hopefully play their game. But the game doesn't have anything to do with my channel. So even if it is a very good game, I'm not very likely to cover it if I don't think my audience is going to enjoy it, because it's just not worth the time and the effort to play something that I'm pretty sure is not going to work versus something that maybe does fit within the genre. Like, if you send me a game that is similar to the stuff I'm creating right now or have in the past, and love, I'm like 8 million times more likely to, number one, respond to the email, and number two, to actually want to play the game in question. And giving me $3 is not how you make me want to play your game. Like, this just makes me kind of annoyed, honestly. And I don't know if it's wrong to feel annoyed about it. Like, I appreciate the $3, but like, and the guy that gave me some Steam keys from their previous game, which I guess they're also trying to throw that in to promote their previous game in here as well, which is like, what? Like, I don't know. It's just not the way to do it. Okay. It's not the way to do it. Giving somebody $3 is not the way to get them to play your game, even though, like, yeah, I saw the message. I might have not seen this message if it was in my email. By the way, this is an example. If this was in the email, this is a very poor example of how to email a content creator to get them to play your game in the first place. I'm going to go over this, okay? But first of all, number one, please, indie developers, do not do this, okay? You might win over a few people, maybe, but it just feels like bribery, and I don't like it. Okay, so secondly, I also got, just last week, a very, very good email from a developer. It's actually from a publisher, but it's a good example because the publisher is like one guy, and the way that he like reached out to me this is how like people should just do it. First of all, sorry, I'm getting a little worked up now. First of all, the email itself, literally it just says in the title, the name of the game and what it is. This guy did the best job I've seen in like, I don't know how much, like 5 years maybe, of getting me to respond and want to play this game. I mean, first of all, the developer reached out to this publisher and asked them to reach out to me because they knew, and they did research, and they knew that I played the original game, that this is like a game made off of a mod from way back in the day, from, you guys might remember, I don't know, it was a Thief fan mission. But anyway, that doesn't matter. What matters is immediately I'm like willing to engage with this person because they actually are aware of the content on my channel. And like maybe back in the past, it was fine not to do this, but it makes such a gigantic difference nowadays because as content creators, we get spammed with just all these generic emails saying like, hey, I'm indie developer X, play my game Super Grocery Warriors. It's really cool. Thanks. Bye. And there's no links or anything. And it's just there's no effort put in whatsoever to like actually get us to play the game. You know what I'm saying? So why would we take the extra effort when we already have so many of these emails to go through? If there's nothing enticing or if there's nothing like friendly about the email at all, then why would we even bother? And this is what I mean by I hope I don't sound pretentious, because I've been doing this for so long that I'm probably on so many people's email lists for indie devs and games and whatnot that it starts to get a bit cluttered, and I don't want it to sound like I don't want these emails, because that's the opposite of what it is. Like, I want emails and I want to know about your games, indie dev. I do. But I want you to tell me about the game if it's actually like a good fit for my channel. I just want to be treated like a person, not like a random robot. I don't know what it is. But this one in particular, I liked that he knew about my channel and knew that I had played the original game, and that was enough to let me, and also just the way that he, speaks in the email is like friendly. Which is good. And it makes me think like, oh, this is a real person that actually is interested in my channel. And he did the research to know that my audience might actually be interested in this game. Therefore, reaching out to me makes sense. So that all in itself is just like, oh, okay, then I will definitely respond. Even if I didn't want to play the game, I would respond just based off that, because it's a well thought out email. Well, this is a publisher writing this. I still wanted to use it as an example for developers because this publisher is just one guy, and he does a fantastic job promoting like teeny tiny indie games. And that's the kind of indie games that I love to promote, games that need eyeballs on them. But obviously I can't just play every single indie game that ever existed. And I still need to play the games that are going to fit on the channel and that are going to also be beneficial for me to play, and not just for the developer. With these sort of transactions, the content creator is not getting anything, and we're taking a risk of making a video that may or may not do well, and we're taking a lot of time to do it. And the developer put a lot of time and effort into the game, and they're putting time into formatting these emails and getting this information to the developers, or paying a publisher to do it or whatever. But it makes the most sense for the developer to invest that time into people that actually would be interested. You know what I mean? So does that all make sense? Am I missing anything here? Just the fact that I wanted to respond really stood out to me, because I get so many emails that are not like this and that are like this. Hey, short narrative mystery game. Ahoy there. I was hoping you would play a little game that I made. It's a short narrative focused game or blah, 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 which is great that you're telling me what the game is about. Cool. But do you guys see the problem with this? I kind of spoiled it with this text, but do you see the problem here? It's so common and it's awful and it looks horrible. It does not give a good impression. There is, I don't know, maybe like a couple hundred people on this email, including like Co-Carnage, Markiplier, and Jesse Cox, and like all of these huge, which I'm so honored to be in the same list, I guess. But like all of these people are not going to be impressed, especially Markiplier and the people that are gigantic. Like, why even bother? That's my question. Like, why even bother? Like, this might be a good game. I don't know, whatever, but this is not the way to do it. It's literally just a waste of your time. Don't do this. It's better to do a little bit of research and find channels that actually are playing similar games that your game is like. And it's okay if the channel is tiny. I don't like this targeting humongous channels with your brand new indie game. Maybe it's like the first or the second game that you've ever made, and it's, okay, but it's not anything that is amazing. I mean, I guess Markiplier plays some indie games that are not that great, but you get my point, right? If you get some eyeballs on your game from a teeny tiny channel that is way more likely to respond to you and way more likely to be like, oh, cool, a developer reached out to me, that means so much more than just becoming spam in somebody's inbox. Basically, a few eyeballs are better than zero, because zero is what you're getting with this. 0 eyeballs. And you're probably going to get blocked too. Okay, another example of bad. This also happens a lot, and this may or may not be the faults of the dev, but the way that some of these emails are formatted ends up looking like spam. And when this happens, I'm not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole. I don't care if it is not actually spam. It's probably not actually spam, but I'm not going to risk that. It does have a game title that I'm looking at that. But the main problem first was obviously it's marked as spam, but there's one mention of the game title. Really, you need to put the game title somewhere super obvious, because if it marked as spam, and I might look it up, but I am never going to click a link in an email. Ever since I got hacked that one time, I never click any links in emails anymore. I go externally to the browser and I will search for it in Steam. And that's how I'm going to find out if it's legit or not. So I don't know if the problem with this one is that this person in the past sent spam to people, or if it's formatted exactly the same as previous messages that were sent as spam. You played the demo a couple weeks ago. Was it good? And like I was saying, this is probably real, and this email isn't the worst. ever, like the way that it's formatted, but I wanted to show it off because I didn't like that there was no game title in here, which is why I didn't click on it in the first place. I should have said that at the beginning. I didn't even open the email because there was no game title. So I'm not sure, but this is unfortunate. I don't know how to fix this, but don't format your email like this because apparently Google thinks it's spam. Therefore, it will never get anywhere. Okay, bad example number 3. This is probably like the most that I ever received ever. They're all like this. Like 90% of them are like this. Horror game on Steam. I'm a big fan of your channel. No, you're not. And I would be honored if you could consider playing my horror game blank. I believe your audience would enjoy it. If you're interested, here's my link. And here's a key. One good thing that they did was provide a key. But first of all, when I get messages like this, I never believe you that you're a fan of my channel because every single message that I get for a game, an indie game, says the same exact thing right at the start. I've been watching your channel for years. I'm a big fan of your channel, but they never go into more detail and say like the good email did. I recognize that you played the same version, the game 7 years ago. So clearly that it's missing, like, I'm a big fan of your channel. I love that you played this game or something. And honestly, like, you could just go to the channel and pick any Let's Play and then put that in your email. That would require like 30 seconds of work. So I don't even know, like, not that that would be ideal, obviously. That is also dishonest. But I'm just saying, like, that's the amount of work that this person is, like, not doing because they decided that it's not worth their time. But this is another way to just get your email completely ignored. Completely, like, nobody is going to respond to this. I think that probably even the small YouTubers are spammed with this sort of thing now. When I started, when I was a little baby YouTuber, I don't think this was super common to get emailed from any developers. But now it's just like a huge problem. It's so spammy all the time in my inbox. Exactly. 30 seconds of work to disguise a cookie cutter email. Yeah. And this person doesn't even say, hi, Lilia, either. They just say, I'm a big fan of your channel. Cool. Like, at least format your email properly like a professional. And honestly, I think most of this might be just a problem with these people not having the skills to format emails properly, and that's valid. So maybe, like, that's something also to take away from this, is to learn that skill. Because if you're a solo developer and you don't have a publisher doing this work for you, you need to be able to have administrative skills to send emails and communicate with people over the internet properly and politely. And you need to, be concise and complete and use punctuation properly. Like, you need to look like a professional. So that was most of my rant about that. And I will wrap this up by saying, please send me emails about your games. I want to play them, but please make sure that they are a game that already fits on my channel. I really want to promote indie developers, especially ones that are creating games that are inspired by, like, old games that I love. Sort of, retro inspired indie games that have really good concepts and new and cool things. I want to do that. I actually want to make a series about that on LILIATV. But it's so hard for me to find ones that are good if all the emails I get are trash. And there's so many, like, I have to wade through so many emails that are absolutely not good. And even if they are good, even if the email is good, 90% of the time the game has nothing to do with my channel or anything. So obviously I'm not going to do it. I would love it if indie developers could just work on that skill a little bit. As a professional on the internet, you just need to always be, leveling up your skills. And this is an important one, especially if you're, making a game by yourself and you need to do all this administrative work. It's important. Trust me, it's important. Anyway, did I miss anything, chat? Anyone have anything to add? If I ever managed to make a game, I would just post it somewhere online for free. Yeah, I mean, that's honestly what you should do first. Put it on like itch.io or something and then get a few eyeballs on it and then take some creative criticism from people. And if not a lot of people are playing it, then maybe it's not a great game and that's fine. And I totally understand the amount of work that goes into making a game, especially when you're starting out. And it is like a lot of time, and it does suck when you put so much time into something, into anything, and nobody likes it. But you know, it doesn't matter. You're still not entitled to expect all the big YouTubers and just anyone really to spend their time and money on making a video about your game if it's just not good. I mean, I have made so many videos on my channel that are just not good. And back in the day, I didn't know that. And there's just so many of them where now I'm like, oh, right. That's why. That's why that wasn't a good idea. And it's all about learning and growing, and eventually things take time and you get better, and eventually you make a good game and then people want to play it, you know, unless you get lucky and there's something about it that goes viral, like Markiplier praised it or something. I don't know. Just keep at it. Make games and then send them to me if they fit my channel. Oh, I totally forgot about this one. Sorry, we still have to talk about this one. This is a pretty good example. I wanted to share this because it's not great, but it's not like it's formatted okay. And I'm pretty sure that this person does not speak English. So because of that, I was like, oh, they actually put a lot of effort into trying to format this properly. So when you mentioned describe the game, this is a good way to do that. Hi, Lilia. I hope you're well. I'm fine. I am blah. We are an independent studio from Brazil. We've just released blah, blah, blah horror game. Dark atmosphere, good story, very cool plot twists. You're put in the role of a 74-year-old exorcist priest who drives evil. And okay, so he says what the game's about. Then he's very polite, gives me a key, and thank you in advance. And that's nice that he's so polite. But I like the title too. Has the game in it, tells me what it is. Also says that there's a copy of the game in the email, which I'm more likely to pursue it if that is the case. I mean, I understand not wanting to because you're giving away a free copy of your game, but this is just another tip, I suppose, to get people to be more likely to actually play your game. This is honestly like on the line between, like maybe if I was going through a lot of horror games right now, if I was playing a lot of indie horror games, maybe then I would, but there are spammers, scanners that beg for keys for teams of content creators so they can sell them too. But who's going to do that? Like, who's going to do that? I get it. I don't think it's a big concern that you should have if you just have a tiny indie game that you just made and you're desperately trying to get people to see it, let alone play it, to know it exists. I would be throwing keys everywhere because really it's eyeballs. Even if somebody sells your key to somebody to play it, isn't that a good thing because they played it? Like, just eyeballs is what you want. You shouldn't be focused on immediately making a bunch of money if it's your first game that you made and you just need to get your foot in the door, right? It's the same concept for YouTubers. Like you're not concerned about immediately making money. You start off as a hobby and hopefully things go well and eventually you can get some money. But at the beginning, if your first priority is to get a bunch of money, it's probably not going to happen for you. Obviously, every circumstance is different, but generally, that is the case. That other person who sent it to 1,000 other content creators would disagree about including a key not being a big expense. It's one key. I don't understand. You can only activate the key one time, so why is it a problem? I don't understand. Like, the first person who gets the key is going to activate it, and then it's useless. Sally, the truth is that the market is oversaturated. Yes, that is the sad truth, and that's why I wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of developers that do it correctly. Like this is like, okay, you know, I actually went through and I read it because I was interested in it, and then I was like, oh, it's just a indie horror game. Well, you know, and I did look at it. I went to the website and I looked at it. You know, it just was one of those things where it doesn't really fit. Sometimes if the key is super cheap, you just assume the game is crap. Yeah. Who is buying these super cheap indie games? I mean, I guess if you could like Like Yagso said, if you could like very quickly sell 1,000 copies of the same key to somebody within the span of like 5 minutes. Because I don't know about you guys, whenever I get a key, I activate it immediately. I don't let it sit around. Does anybody in chat, do you guys let it sit there and not activate it right away? That's weird. If you do that, you're weird. Maybe it's paranoia that makes me do that, thinking that someone else is going to steal it. I don't know.